All right, so welcome everybody to the Selling Software in the AWS GovCloud region session. My name is Keith Brooks. I'm the Business Development Manager for the AWS GovCloud region, primarily focusing on strategy, partnerships, growth of the region, working with customers, partners, end users, and software vendors, as I hope many of you are, to help customers and technology vendors onboard to the region. In the case of technology vendors, helping you guys bring your software into the region so that you can reach the customers and the users that use GovCloud for their sensitive workloads. So today we're going to spend some time talking about how do you sell your software in the AWS GovCloud region. So before we dive into the actual steps of selling the software, we're going to spend a few minutes just kind of recapping the main features of GovCloud. For those of you who were in the sessions yesterday, both the overview session and the how to get started session, you've seen most of this, but we're going to spend a few minutes just recapping the main features before we dive into the specifics of selling software in GovCloud. So as many of you know, GovCloud is one of 11 regions that comprise the AWS Cloud Computing Platform and one of 4 regions that are in the United States. So the actual region itself is located in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in Oregon. And the region itself has a number of unique features that really differentiate it from other regions in our platform. One of which is the data network and machine isolation from our other regions. So what that means is, for those of you who currently use AWS, you will notice that in your standard AWS account, you will notice that when you log into the management console, there's a region selector in the top right-hand corner. Well, when you click that region selector, you get a drop-down and it will list 10 regions of the AWS platform. You will notice that GovCloud is not one of those regions for the simple fact that the region itself is isolated from all of our other regions. You have to have a GovCloud account, which has a unique access to the console. It has its independent, unique console that is driven primarily from the data network and machine isolation. So you can't launch GovCloud instances from your standard AWS account in that management console, and you can only launch resources and workloads and data in the GovCloud region from the AWS GovCloud management console itself. In addition to that, GovCloud also has a separate IAM and authentication stack. So you get unique credentials for GovCloud to access your GovCloud account in the region. Those credentials and that authentication does not work in the standard account. So you cannot log into your standard AWS account using your GovCloud credentials and vice versa. In addition, as Chris mentioned in the previous session on compliance, the GovCloud region is also managed and operated by AWS employees that are US persons on US soil. So because of some of the compliance features that Chris just walked through, we have to adhere to those security requirements as well, one of which being for the ITAR specific feature that we have US persons man and operate the region from an AWS perspective. As both me and Karen Arango walked through yesterday, there are some requirements before you can access the GovCloud region. The account holder has to be a US person working for a US entity on US soil, and you cannot be barred from handling export control data. That, in addition to the fact that we do additional vetting on our end once you submit your account requests, naturally creates this community cloud aspect of GovCloud. And that community cloud feature is really driven by the fact that we control who can access the region. A lot of folks that typically request access to the region to meet their regulatory and compliance requirements do like that community cloud element of GovCloud. So it is one of the distinguishing features that GovCloud possesses. In addition, there are multiple regulatory and compliance features on their own. I'm not going to walk through these again, as many of you just, I won't say suffered, but made it through Chris's prior session on compliance, where he covered topics like FedRAMP, HIPAA, ITAR, DoD, CSMs 1 through 5, in addition to the FIPS 140-2 endpoints that also are unique to the GovCloud region. So who's using GovCloud? As Teresa Carlson, our VP of Worldwide Public Sector, stated in her keynote yesterday, we have seen pretty phenomenal growth of use of the region over the past 4 years since we launched in 2011. And most users of the GovCloud region really span many different categories, whether it's government agencies, and we have the gamut of customers there. We have federal government agencies, we have state agencies, we have local governments. In addition to that, we have education institutes, we have nonprofit organizations, research organizations, as well as private industry. So we have aerospace and defense companies, space exploration companies, we have companies in healthcare, financial services, et cetera, that also use the GovCloud region for their sensitive data requirements. Beyond that, we have technology consulting partners, we have traditional consulting partners, we have systems integrators, technology vendors, software companies, government resellers, as well as managed service providers that all use the GovCloud region to host their sensitive workloads. So what are some of those workloads that they use GovCloud for? Well, we purposely built GovCloud for what we consider workloads that meet the criteria of being sensitive, whether that's defined by the organization that's using GovCloud or information that falls under one of these categories of controlled unclassified information. And that is an official list that spans many different types of data, from agriculture data to export control data like ITAR, financial data, intellectual property, law enforcement data, patent data, legal data, all categories of critical infrastructure. So as you can see, those customers that we just described that use GovCloud use it for a variety of reasons, many of which to host workloads and data that fall under these sensitive categories of data for their workloads. So as I mentioned, we've had pretty phenomenal growth over the past 4 years, and that growth is across different sectors, different industries, and it's really resulted in this growing ecosystem of both users and customers, as well as technology partners that offer solutions in the GovCloud region to all of the customers that have deployed workloads there. And from an opportunity perspective, we look at that as really encapsulating the core opportunity for technology firms and software vendors to come to the region to offer their solutions to the wide range of customers that actually use GovCloud. So you could look at reaching customers that you currently have today that fall in those categories of customers that currently use GovCloud, but it also opens up a whole additional set of possibilities around customers that you do not have today. So it gives you the ability to reach your existing customer base and then grow to reach new customers in that use the GovCloud region themselves today. So how do you distribute your software in GovCloud? So for those of you that were around yesterday, Barry Russell, who's the global head of business development for the AWS Marketplace, did a session in this room actually that talked about the marketplace. And for those of you who are not familiar, AWS Marketplace is a pretty innovative offering. It's basically a new way to automate the publication, the discovery, the distribution, one-click deployment and building of software that's purpose-built for the AWS Cloud Computing Platform. Unfortunately, at this time, AWS Marketplace is not available in GovCloud, which leads you to the question of, okay, so then what are the distribution methods for distributing software in the GovCloud region? There are 3 primary methods. We're going to walk through all 3 here today, 2 of which are shown on this chart here. So 2 of the methods that we typically advise software vendors to use when distributing software on the cloud, specifically within the GovCloud region, is to take advantage of a concept called an Amazon machine image. And for those of you that are not aware of, or Armies as they're typically referred to as, an Army is basically a prepackaged set of software components, including an operating system, application components, application servers, whatever's required to deploy a piece of software on an EC2 virtual server instance that's running in the GovCloud region. From that standpoint, there are 2 options to deploy software in the GovCloud region. One is using community Armies, and the second is using what we refer to as a private Army. I'll walk through both here pretty shortly. So a community Army is basically an Army that's been developed and published in the GovCloud region that is available and discoverable to all users and any customer of the GovCloud region itself. So when a customer logs into their account, they click on the EC2 dashboard, and they get an option with a set of menu items on the left, one of which is an Army. You can click that, and you'll come to a page where you can actually search and discover community Armies or Armies that are published by Amazon. If you click the community Army, you'll get a search box, and that search box allows customers to type in whatever search parameters they're looking for and get a list of Armies that are publicly available for them to use. That is one option that software vendors will use to distribute their software in the GovCloud region, again, because the AWS Marketplace is not available today in GovCloud. The second option is the private Army, and private Armies look, smell, and feel just like community Armies. The only difference is that they're not publicly discoverable. So the way software vendors can take advantage of the private Army approach is to develop the Army in the same way, publish the Army to GovCloud, but they control access to those Armies. So the way a customer or a user could get access to that software that takes this approach is that the customer will need to contact the software vendor, say, I'm a user of GovCloud, I want to use your software in the GovCloud region, can you provide me access to your Army? Typically what happens is the software vendor will work out the licensing model directly with the customer, and once the customer has made that procurement decision and has procured the software vendor or technology firm can then provide access to that Army directly to the end user. The software vendor will require the customer's GovCloud account ID, and by using that ID, the vendor will then grant access to that Army to the customer. Once the customer is granted access, they can log into their console, click the EC2 dashboard, run a search, and they will have that private Army that's available to them. So from an Army standpoint, you have two paths, right? The community Army, publicly available, searchable, and fully available to customers of GovCloud today, or the private Army, which is an Army that's more locked down and more controlled. And once the purchase decision has been made, a technology vendor can grant access to those Armies to customers that have procured that software. We'll get into licensing models here shortly around both of those approaches as well. This is just a screenshot of the search and discovery method when you're searching for community Armies. It shows on the left-hand side, you can see on the left-hand panel the community Army click option. When you click that, you'll see the search bar at the top. You can type in whatever search parameters you want, and any Armies that meet those requirements or that meet that search parameter will show up in the box. This is just an example of searching for GovCloud Armies in this particular screenshot. So how do you get your Armies into GovCloud? So for technology vendors that currently take advantage of the AWS Marketplace outside of GovCloud, many simply assume you can take those same Armies and deploy them in GovCloud. Well, Marketplace Armies that have gone through the Marketplace publication process and are official Armies that are available in the Marketplace cannot be deployed as is in GovCloud for a number of reasons. One of which is that once the Armies are officially approved and deployed in the Marketplace, they also have Marketplace-specific data elements, product IDs, and other metadata that requires Marketplace in order for the Army to work. Obviously, since Marketplace is not in GovCloud, those Armies will not operate as required. They just won't run in the GovCloud region. However, even though we don't have Marketplace, we do recommend to technology vendors that they use the Army that was used as the basis for their Marketplace Army to start with in terms of deploying their software or making their software available in the GovCloud region. So you can use the Army that was originally submitted to the Marketplace team, the Army that is essentially pre-approved, pre-approval from the Marketplace perspective, and use that Army as the basis for the Army that you would use in GovCloud. You will still want to have your GovCloud account and test the software and deploy it to make sure it works, but that Army is typically the best starting point from the standpoint of prepping Armies and getting Armies available to use in the GovCloud region. So what about software as a service? So software as a service is another distribution model that over the past year and a half, we've seen a pretty good uptick in technology vendors offering SaaS solutions in the GovCloud region. This is the third distribution model that we recommend to technology firms to take advantage of when offering their products in the GovCloud region. There are some substantial differences between the SaaS model and the AMI models, however. One of which is the product itself, the software offering that you're offering to your customers that software product is actually hosted in the technology vendor's GovCloud account. So the software is deployed there and it's simply accessed by an end user via the software that's deployed in their GovCloud environment. There is also no need for a customer to access an AMI. So whether it's a community AMI or a private AMI, when you're taking the SaaS approach, there is no need for a customer to search or provide a GovCloud account ID to access an AMI. They do not interact with AMIs at all in this model. In addition, because it's deployed in a SaaS model, all interactions between the end user or the end customer and the technology firm itself is handled directly between those two entities. AWS is not involved. The biggest difference there between the AMI approach is that even if a customer wants to leverage your software via community or private AMI, that customer still has to download that AMI and deploy that AMI on an EC2 instance and any associated storage volume that's associated with running your software. So those customers will also have charges from AWS to run that software. In the SaaS model, that does not apply. Since the software is hosted in the technology firm or ISV's GovCloud account, there is no additional EC2 or storage charges that's associated with operating that software. So again, SaaS, definitely a model, and I'll actually get here in a second to show you some of the new vendors that have really recently launched in the GovCloud region using the SaaS model. But again, 3 fundamental differences from using SaaS and GovCloud versus traditional AMIs. Now, this isn't a complete list of all the software companies with SaaS offerings in GovCloud, but these are some of our partners that have recently launched products via the SaaS model in GovCloud. We have organizations like APN, which has their cloud BPM process management and workflow solution that's hosted as a SaaS offering in GovCloud. We have Druva Technologies, which has their endpoint protection SaaS offering in GovCloud. We have companies like Splunk that offers their cloud Splunk Enterprise Edition via a SaaS model, which is actually called Splunk Cloud. That's in GovCloud. We have software vendors like Infor, which actually hosts their cloud suite for the aerospace and defense sector in GovCloud, which gives them the ITAR compliance element, which is a pretty unique element when you factor in a SaaS offering. And then we have organizations like CloudCheckr that has their usage and cost reporting and analytics solution hosted in GovCloud as well. So as we've seen more and more technology vendors adopt the region to take advantage of some of the unique compliance and regulatory features of GovCloud, we've also had a lot of software vendors also leverage GovCloud to deploy SaaS-based solutions to their end users. So what about marketing? We talked a bit about distribution, but because Marketplace is not integrated into GovCloud, there are really 4 options that exist to really market the fact that you have software available in GovCloud. Karen and I probably get 20 emails a week almost, it seems like, from either end users or customers asking what software products are available in GovCloud. So we want to briefly talk about 4 methods that software vendors can use to market the fact that they have offerings in the GovCloud region. The first one is for our technology vendors and ISVs that are part of our partner program. They can take advantage of their partner directory listing, and specifically in that listing, market the fact that they have software offerings available in one of the 11 regions of our cloud computing platform, to include GovCloud. I have an example of that. Actually, I have an example of each of these I'll show you in a second. But the partner directory page is definitely something that our partners, if you meet the right criteria to be in the APN network, can definitely take advantage to market the fact that they have offerings in the GovCloud region. AWS Marketplace is also a method that software vendors use as well. And I'll show you an example of that. But even though we don't have Marketplace integrated in GovCloud, we have technology vendors to take advantage of the discovery element of Marketplace to, in the listing, say that if the same product that they have in Marketplace is also built and ready to be deployed in GovCloud exists, they will say contact X person at this email address or at this phone number to discuss options to get this software product in GovCloud as well. So we have tons of vendors that actually take advantage of the Marketplace approach as well. The third option is the Army listing in the EC2 dashboard. So we kind of walked through that a second ago. I have another example that shows you that, but definitely take advantage of that search function directly in the EC2 launch page, because there's actually text there, so that if a customer searches for GovCloud or business intelligence or firewall appliance, you can take advantage of that description for your marketplace, for your Army listing directly in the EC2 dashboard, to give customers further awareness that the software product is available as well. And then finally, company websites. So I'll show you a really good example of this from our partner Receiver, where they've actually developed an independent page to market the fact that they have a cloud migration solution that's actually available, specifically built for GovCloud. And one of the benefits of that approach is that you get to take advantage of discovery elements and discovery methods that are outside of the AWS ecosystem, right? So you can take advantage of things like search engine optimization. If you go to Google and search for cloud migration in GovCloud, there's a good chance you're going to get a hit there. And that page does a really good job of describing the product, describing that it's available for GovCloud, and giving instructions for how customers can actually procure that software and use it to migrate Armies and other resources into the GovCloud region. This is an example for Cloud Checker, and this is actually their APN page, their partner network page or directory listing. And I just briefly highlighted at the bottom that directly in the listing itself, they actually say there that the Cloud Checker product, which they call Cloud Checker Gov, is the version of their software product that is purpose-built for GovCloud and available to customers. The good thing about the APN listing page is it also gives all the contact information, right? So a customer can quickly see that Cloud Checker has an offering in GovCloud with the relevant contact information, so that they can reach out to Cloud Checker directly to procure that software and use it in the GovCloud region. This is actually a snapshot of the AWS Marketplace Listing page for SoftNAS, which Barry actually spent some time talking about SoftNAS yesterday. It's a pretty innovative company that's really given some of the larger vendors a run for their money in the NAS space. But SoftNAS actually has a specific marketplace listing just for their GovCloud offering. It's a pretty innovative use of Marketplace. So you can't take advantage of the one-click deployment, obviously, because Marketplace is not in GovCloud, but they do take advantage of customers going to Marketplace to discover what software is available. And if a customer goes to Marketplace today, and you can try this on your own and type in GovCloud, you're very likely going to get that hit back. So they give a good description of the product. They explicitly state that it's for GovCloud. The actual title of the listing also states that it's for GovCloud. And if you look at the full listing, they give explicit instructions for customers to reach out to the point of contact there to procure the SoftNAS product for the GovCloud region. This is just another image of the Army search function. And as I mentioned, there's a description field in there. So even if you don't use your APN listing page or the marketplace listing, definitely take advantage, if you're using the community or private Army approach, to leverage that description field to definitely give explicit instructions to your customer base on how they can procure that software to use in GovCloud. And then here's a snapshot, a partial snapshot of the Receiver page. It's a really, like I said, it's a really good use of a company-owned page to market the fact that they have products. We didn't get the whole page on the screen, but if you scroll down, if you visit this site, you will notice that they, have sections of text dedicated to describing the product, as well as explicit instructions on how to procure the Receiver product for cloud migration into GovCloud. So those are examples of the 4 methods that we typically advise software vendors to take advantage of when they want to market the fact that they have solutions that are purpose-built for the GovCloud region. So from a marketing standpoint, there are also a few guidelines that we put in place to control how messaging is conducted in regards to GovCloud. First and foremost, before you can market that you have offerings in the region, you actually have to have an offering in the GovCloud region, right? So we don't want technology vendors saying that they have a presence in GovCloud when in fact they don't have products available. That results in a bad customer experience. So before you can market the fact that you have software products in GovCloud, we want to verify that you do actually have a GovCloud account and those Armies or a SaaS offering is actually available to customers. In addition to that, any reference to the GovCloud region must use the fully qualified official name of the region, which is AWS, all caps, GovCloud, US. That's the official name of the region, and any marketing text or language around marketing GovCloud must use the fully qualified name. And in addition, if you use your APN directory listing page or your marketplace listing, the GovCloud team will review that just to ensure that you are adhering to those guidelines. So nothing too onerous, but there are a few requirements that we levy in regards to marketing software products for GovCloud. In addition to those guidelines, we do give further best practices that really just help customers discover the fact that those software products are available in GovCloud. So you want to explicitly indicate that you do have availability in the region. We've worked with some technology partners that actually had solutions in GovCloud, but they didn't explicitly state it, which then we end up fielding calls from the customer asking if a particular product is available or not. So we typically recommend that you explicitly state if your product is built and ready to be deployed in GovCloud. In addition, make sure you include a thorough description of the product, describe how to purchase the product. So if it's not a freemium or a trial use, you want to give instructions on the licensing model and the directions so that the customer can contact the appropriate point of contact at the technology firm to procure the license and then deploy the software. And then in addition, provide the contact information. So because Marketplace is not integrated, you want to give very explicit instructions so that a customer can get in contact with you at your company so that they can procure the license to use the software in the GovCloud region. So we talk distribution, we talk marketing, what about licensing? So there are really three models in GovCloud. One is the traditional kind of no-cost model. Think of that as either a freemium model where maybe you offer your software for free to customers in the GovCloud region, or maybe it's offered for free, but there's like a 7-day free trial, and then you've integrated into your software a reach back to require a license key or some other method to verify that they've purchased the software for use. As I mentioned, license key required. So even if you deploy it as a shared Army, there are ways to integrate checks so that you do require a license key before that software can be run in the GovCloud region. And then finally, software as a service, as we just talked through, is just a model that's subscription-based. In that particular model, you want to be explicit on how you offer a software as a service solution to your end customers and the different pricing plans and whether it's monthly or daily or yearly. You want to be very explicit there. But these are the three models that we typically see being used in the GovCloud region when it comes to licensing software for GovCloud. And then finally, what's the relationship between distribution and licensing? This is just a quick matrix that just shows that from a no-cost or license key perspective, you can take advantage of that with both community Armies and private Armies. And then obviously, because software as a service is both a licensing and distribution method of delivering software, that's pretty much in a category of its own. So it's totally up to the vendor to choose which distribution method they want to use and what licensing options they want to offer to their end users. But just to show you the matrix and the relationship between the three options from a distribution and licensing perspective, this is typically what we see and advise technology vendors and software companies to use when deploying software in the GovCloud region. So what about requesting software? So as I mentioned, Karen and I get a lot of emails from customers or end users and even other technology vendors about what products are actually available in the region. So if you have a specific request, or if you can't on your own discover that a software product is available in the region, definitely reach out to us. You can email us at govcloud-pmo@amazon.com. We get those emails. Let us know who you are, what type of software you're looking for. We'll definitely research and let you know if that software product is available. Include your GovCloud account ID if you can, as well as specify the vendor, the product, and the version that you're looking for. As I mentioned, we get these emails all the time, and we're definitely here to help customers and end users discover what products are available on the GovCloud platform. It's worth noting that we work with technology vendors and software companies every week because we want to onboard more and more solutions and software products to the region because our customers require those software products even in GovCloud, right? So we're continually working with new vendors, existing vendors to bring new products in. We discover and work with the Marketplace team to figure out if there are any vendors that are coming into Marketplace that are also interested in coming into GovCloud as well. Karen and I work with those technology companies to bring those products into GovCloud as well. So we're every week we're trying to add more and more vendors. But in the case that if you're an end user or a customer of GovCloud and you do have a question about what products are available or if you need help working with a technology vendor to bring a software offering into the region, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to us and we can work with you to get those software products brought in and available. So that is all I have. I will open it up to any questions now, and while we address questions, I'll just keep our contact information up there as well. As I mentioned, I'm Keith Brooks, email address on the screen there, and then Karen Arango, who's the product manager of GovCloud. Definitely free to address any questions you have as well. If you haven't, visit our public website, aws.amazon.com/GovCloud US. And then we also have a link to our AWS GovCloud user guide as well, which walks through specifics on the region, the services available in the region, use cases, ITAR boundaries, and things of that nature. So with that, I will open it up for questions. I think everybody's tired. Yeah.
On the end charge of the on the SaaS model, you said there's, we can, as a software vendor, they can describe the price, but you said there's additional, I guess, data charges and other things that that apply on that charge. How does that work? Out of curiosity, just because some applications obviously require more horsepower than others.
Right. So you're referring to the Army model, right? Not SaaS.
Yeah.
Yeah. So from an Army perspective, right, the Army is just the configuration of software that a customer will then download and deploy on an EC2 instance, right? The customer in their GovCloud account is still responsible for paying whatever charges that are associated with EC2 for compute, or EBS for storage, or potentially even S3 if that's what they're using. Yeah. Yeah, right. No, and that's the key difference between using the Army approach or the SaaS approach, right? Because when you use the Army approach, even if you offer a free piece of software to a customer, they're still going to get the compute and storage charges billed to their GovCloud account. Whereas if you offer a software product via SaaS model, the customer will not incur any additional compute or storage charges on their GovCloud account. All those charges flow to the vendor's account because that's where the software is hosted, right? So you're going to want to make sure that you structure whatever your subscription model is in a SaaS offering to factor in those charges that come with hosting a piece of software in GovCloud. So that's the primary difference between the two. I think I see.
Hi, yeah, back here. Thank you for the great presentation. My question is, how do you actually vet the solution in the GovCloud? What are some of the checklist or criteria that you look for to confirm that it's a valid solution?
Right. So we don't assess whether or not a solution is valid from the standpoint of meeting like customer requirements or anything, but we will work with software vendors when they look to onboard to the GovCloud region to make sure that they factor in the unique elements of the region, some of which refer to what Chris walked through in the previous chart about the shared responsibility model. So the software vendor is still responsible for factoring in like security and compliance requirements at the software level, and we work with them to help them understand those requirements. We also work with them to factor in any unique elements of the GovCloud platform. So GovCloud has unique endpoints for the services that are in the region. So if your software solution takes advantage of other services within GovCloud, we work with software vendors to make sure that when they build their software and they design their software for GovCloud, that they factored in those unique elements of GovCloud, right? So, just like when we talked about moving a Marketplace Army over to GovCloud, if your Army takes advantage of different services in the GovCloud region, that's another step that you're going to have to work through before you deploy that software in GovCloud, because obviously we want to make sure your software works for the end customer. So we typically spend some time, again, multiple calls a week with software vendors, working with them to walk through the unique elements of GovCloud to ensure that their software product will work when deployed to the region. So those are the type of things that we typically work with software vendors to help validate that their offerings are purpose-built for GovCloud.
So it's more of a process that you guys walk the vendor through rather than just a one-time checkpoint. You kind of engaged with from the beginning, or where do you engage in the process?
Right, so we have a guide that we provide to certain software vendors, but typically a technology firm will have a partner manager on the business side at AWS. So they engage with their partner manager, and the partner manager will pull Karen and I in, and we just, 30-minute, hour con call. Sometimes Karen's talking to the engineering teams and literally walking them through very specific elements, because not all software products are the same, right? So you may have specific questions that you just need to talk to the GovCloud team about, right? So if it gets into a more specific use case, we're always available to talk through those things, but we do have a partner guy that we can send out as well to help kind of walk you through the main checkpoints for deploying software in GovCloud, many of which are the things that we talked about today, actually.
Yeah, and I would just add that one thing that oftentimes we'll have SaaS providers that'll say, what are our obligations as a SaaS provider in regard to the ITAR boundary? And so we'll walk them through how the shared responsibility model, especially if they're going to provide capability that will allow ITAR workloads to come in through their SaaS offering, and to work through that.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Hi.
Quick question. What if one of our partners is one of the SaaS vendors up there and we want to sit behind their solution, maybe as an Army or as a SaaS offering ourselves? What do we do?
So the first step would be to reach out to them directly, and work that integration directly there. And I think you're going to have to figure out if it's an integrated Army, if you will, that factors in their software plus your software, or if there's some other deployment method in GovCloud where it's two separate Armies and there's some back-end scaffolding that integrates them on the backside. But you said not hard?
Yeah. Well,
Depends. Right.
And are you, if you're in public, how are you architected in public
Right.
regions, right? Okay,
Right.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
it's not a GovCloud impact, right? It would be similar across any deployment across any region. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I had a question. Is there a cost associated for a software vendor to become part of the program?
So there are requirements. So there are different levels of, and I'm assuming you're talking about the AWS partner network? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So there's no cost to onboard to the GovCloud region. There are just certain requirements you have to meet. The account holder has to be a U.S. person working for a U.S. entity. You can't be barred from export control data. And then we do some additional vetting, but there's no cost. Just like there's no cost to create an AWS account today, there's no additional cost to have a GovCloud account, no. In terms of the partner network, there are requirements and spend thresholds and a certain amount of training and certifications you have to have for the different levels of the partner network. So there are costs associated with that, but that's independent of GovCloud. That's applicable across our platform globally.
Any other
That's
questions?
it? One more.
If you're putting say a service up there, do the users of that service, can they only come from the government, or is it restricted to people coming from .gov networks?
We don't restrict types of users of the GovCloud region from the standpoint of a user of an application. That's part of the shared responsibility model. So if you need to lock down your application or your service to a certain type of user, that's all done at the application layer. But from a GovCloud perspective, we don't like filter traffic, from certain addresses or IP addresses or anything like that. No, we don't. There's no requirements from us on that. Yeah. Yep. That's it. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining us today. I think we actually have a reception in the exhibit hall now, so you are free to go. Thanks again.